Chapter 10. I made a violent effort, then, at self-assertion, an effort to focus my mind upon the present. And, searching for Molson and George Isley, its nearest details, I was aware that I could not find them. The familiar figures of my two companions were not discoverable. I saw it as plainly as I saw that ludicrous wee piano for a moment. But the moment remained. The eternity of Egypt stayed. For that lonely and terrific pair had stooped their shoulders and bowed their awful heads. They were in the room. They imaged forth the power of the everlasting past through the little structures of two human worshippers. Room, walls, and ceiling fled away. Sand and the open sky replaced them. The two of them rose side by side before my bursting eyes. I knew not where to look. Like some child who confronts its giants upon the nursery floor, I turned to stone, unable to think or move. I stared. Sight wrenched itself to find the men familiar to it, but found instead this symbolizing vision. I could not see them properly. Their faces were spread with hugeness, their features lost in some uncommon magnitude, their shoulders, necks, and arms grown vast upon the air. As with the desert, there was physiognomy, yet no personal expression, the human thing all drowned within the mess of battered stone. I discovered neither cheeks, nor mouth, nor jaw, but ruined eyes and lips of broken granite. Huge, motionless, mysterious Egypt informed them and took them to herself. And between us, curiously presented in some false perspective, I saw the little symbol of today, the Blüthner piano. It was appalling. I knew a second of majestic horror. I blenched. Hot and cold gushed through me. Strength left me. Power of speech and movement, too, as in the moment of complete paralysis. The spell, moreover, was not within the room alone. It was outside and everywhere. The past stood massed about the very walls of the hotel. Distance, as well as time, stepped nearer. That chanting summoned the gigantic items in all their ancient splendor. The shadowy concourse grouped itself upon the sand about us, and I was aware that the great army shifted noiselessly into place, that pyramids soared and towered, that deities of stone stood by, that temples ranged themselves in reconstructed beauty, grave as the night of time whence they emerged, and that the outline of the Sphinx, motionless but aggressive, piled its dim bulk upon the atmosphere. Immensity answered to immensity. There were vast intervals of time, and there were reaches of enormous distance. Yet all happened in a moment, and all happened within a little space. It was now and here. Eternity whispered in every second, as in every grain of sand. Yet, while aware of so many stupendous details all at once, I was really aware of one thing only, that the spirit of ancient Egypt faced me in these two terrific figures, and that my consciousness, stretched painfully yet gloriously, included all, as she also unquestionably included them, and me. For it seemed I shared the likeness of my two companions. Some lesser symbol, though of similar kind, obsessed me too. I tried to move, but my feet were set in stone. My arms lay fixed. My body was embedded in the rock. Sand beat sharply upon my outer surface, urged upwards in little flurries by a chilly wind. There was nothing felt. I heard the rattle of the scattering grains against my hardened body. And we waited for the dawn, for the resurrection of that unchanging deity who was the source and inspiration of all our glorious life. The air grew keen and fresh. In the distance, a line of sky turned from pink to violet and gold. A delicate rose next flushed the desert. A few pale stars hung fainting overhead, and the wind that brought the sunrise was already stirring. The whole land paused upon the coming of its mighty God. Into the pause there rose a curious sound for which we had been waiting, for it came familiarly, as though expected. I could have sworn at first that it was George Isley who sang, answering his companion. There beat behind its great volume the same note and rhythm, only so prodigiously increased that, while Molson's chant had waked it, it was now independent and apart. The resonant vibrations of what he sang had reached down into the places where it slept. They uttered synchronously. Egypt spoke. There was in it the deep muttering as of 1,000 drums, as though the desert uttered in prodigious syllables. I listened while my heart of stone stood still. There were 2 voices in the sky. They spoke tremendously with each other in the dawn. So easily we still remain possessors of the land, while the centuries roar past us and are gone. Soft with power the syllables rolled forth, yet with a booming depth as though caverns underground produced them. Our silence is disturbed. Pass on with the multitude towards the east. Still in the dawn we sing the old world wisdom. They shall hear our speech, yet shall not hear it with their ears of flesh. At dawn our words go forth, searching the distances of sand and time across the sunlight. At dusk they return, as upon eagle's wings, entering again our lips of stone. Each century 1 syllable, yet no sentence yet complete, while our lips are broken with the utterance. It seemed that hours and months and years went past me while I listened in my sandy bed. The fragments died far away, then sounded very close again. It was as though mountain peaks sang to one another above clouds. Wind caught the muffled roar away. Wind brought it back. Then, in a hollow pause that lasted years, conveying marvelously the passage of long periods, I heard the utterance more clearly. The leisured roll of the great voice swept through me like a flood. We wait and watch and listen in our loneliness. We do not close our eyes. The moon and stars sail past us, and our river finds the sea. We bring eternity upon your broken lives. We see you build your little lines of steel across our territory behind the thin white smoke. We hear the whistle of your messengers of iron through the air. The nations rise and pass. The empires flutter westwards and are gone. The sun grows older and the stars turn pale. Winds shift the line of the horizons, and our river moves its bed. But we, everlasting and unchangeable, remain. Of water, sand, and fire is our essential being, yet built within the universal air. There is no pause in life. There is no break in death. The changes bring no end. The sun returns. There is eternal resurrection. But our kingdom is underground in shadow, unrealized of your little day. Come, come! The temples still are crowded, and our desert blesses you. Our river takes your feet. Our sand shall purify, and the fire of our God shall burn you sweetly into wisdom. Come, then, and worship, for the time draws near. It is the dawn. The voices died down into depths that the sand of ages muffled, while the flaming dawn of the east rushed up the sky. Sunrise, the great symbol of life's endless resurrection, was at hand. About me, in immense but shadowy array, stood the whole of ancient Egypt, hanging breathlessly upon the moment of adoration. No longer stern and terrible in the splendor of their long neglect, the effigies rose erect with passionate glory, a forest of stately stone. Their granite lips were parted, and their ancient eyes were wide. All faced the east, and the sun drew nearer to the rim of the attentive desert.